Everyone. So today I thought I would talk about the brand new sixth studio album by the one and only Post Malone, F-1 Trillion. So Post Malone, who has been a prominent figure in just music in general since his just musical debut in 2016, with White Iverson, just a bunch of that stuff. Since then, he's explored everything in hip hop to this like kind of trap influence, this more pop aesthetics, going to more of these like folk and now country as he hits us with F-1 Trillion, which in Austin there was a little bit of country to it, but it wasn't. I still wouldn't necessarily call it country. I would just call it pop album with some strings to it, is what I would say. And while I wasn't really a big fan of Austin, and generally I've been kind of lukewarm to a bit mixed on Post Malone music, while I do think he generally is pretty talented musically, being able to just go across genres, his live performances have been good. I was not really that looking too forward to this album. And while I didn't necessarily hate the Morgan Wallen song that was prominently promoted, very popular of it, while I didn't hate it, it didn't necessarily give me the highest expectations for the album. It kind of told me that this would be a very cash grab album, is what I would say of it, of just very prominent in terms of figures on it, in terms of doing good numbers, but the substance of it would be very lacking. And just starting off with it, this is a very bro country, very like pop country, a little bit of the contemporary country of that. But I will already start with the bat and say this is far better than the Young Gravy album, Serving Country, I believe is what it was called. I should remember that. I reviewed it, but I'm trying to like black it out now. But that last album that I reviewed for that, these are my only two country album reviews I've done. I should really do more because you're going to think I hate country at this point. I don't. But this one has more substance to it. This one has more in terms of like effort into it. The performances are better, which is not saying much, which you will find out later on in this review. But to start off with this is a very stacked number of songs on it with 18 tracks on, and the deluxe edition has more, which is just crazy. Just going even more into it, the total number, we have the feature list on it, was just going through it. You got like everybody on it. You have these prominent country figures like Morgan Wallen, Jelly Roll, Chris Stapleton, Hardy, which is decently prominent figure, just not good. Billy Strings, who I really like, Tim McGraw, Hank Williams, Blake Shelton, Dolly Parton, Luke Combs, Brad Paisley, and there's just many more that I didn't even name. Almost every single song on at least the standard edition, I haven't really listened to the deluxe edition, has one of these features on it. With new and old in it is a very interesting concept to go with of having it, but I do view some of these performances as just more in name value. Prominently, I was not the big fan of the Dolly Parton song. I thought it was not. It just was the Have the Heart was. It wasn't bad, but I just wasn't that into it. I was hoping it would be better because I do like Dolly Parton, one of my favorite, just like country artists, probably one of the best, probably the best female country artist there is. Just was not into the song much. I didn't think they worked too well together. I had some help with Morgan Wallen, was fine is the simplest way to put it. Like, it's your run-of-the-mill kind of standard country. While I'm not like the biggest on like Morgan Wallen, like I don't hate his music of it or anything of it. I don't think this is one of his best performances or best songs, but it was, for a single wise, it did drum up enough attention. Finer Things with Hank Williams was decent. Wrong Ones with Tim McGraw just felt like it could have been done a lot more. Just to start with, like one of the first songs I actually liked with it, was "Pour Me a Drink," which I did actually really like. Had Blake Shelton on it. Blake Shelton was very good on it. Post Malone gave a very decent performance on it. Overall, it was a pretty decent track, which was like the first time on the album I had been like a big fan of it. I thought it was decent overall. Next up, "Don't Belong to You," which is it's also pretty decent. It's called What Don't Belong to You," which is one of the only songs that doesn't have a feature on it. I think Post Malone genuinely did pretty decent with it, and that'll be a thing why we'll go through all the things I didn't like about the album. He, at least with each album, he puts in a level of effort into the album and tries to make it something. Austin is one of the only albums that he has where I could fully say I don't really think that. but that was a pretty decent song. You had California Sober, which is probably my one of my either first or second favorite song on this album, which is near like the end of it, which has Chris Stapleton's still doing amazingly in just country, just a very big pioneer, very big influential figure. He carries his weight of it. I think he had an amazing performance. Post Malone did good as well on it, carried his weight of it, very fast paced of it, clocking at like almost 3.5 minutes of it of just excitement on it. You had probably either first or second song as well for like favorite songs, Mexico, which is the second to last song, which has Billy Strings, who I was happy to see Billy Strings on an album. I believe he has an album coming out in September or sometime during that, which I'm looking forward to. The strings on Mexico were very good. It was a very like bluegrass centric kind of song on there. A very fun little like deviation from a lot of the bro country, like formulaic country that you would expect from this kind of stuff. Right About You was another interesting song that I liked on here. Generally, I thought it was pretty good. Uh, to continue on with that, that's really what I'll say for that. But there are some negatives. There are some pretty big negatives I'll say for that. Starting with it, very very bloated album. I'll say with the 18 songs, almost a full hour. It's like 57 minutes. It's almost like 58 minutes actually. Now I'm looking at it's 57 minutes and 57 seconds. That's insane. The Deluxe edition, I can't imagine gets better. Certain like performance on it, like Lainey Wilson on Nosedive, it actually does what the name says, takes a nosedive. Jelly Roll just doesn't do good on Losers. Post Malone doesn't really do good on that song either. And another thing I'll even say for that is, Post Malone, while I do think he is a pretty talented musician, I think the problem for this album is, while yes, there are some good features, there are some prominent features, I think he really just plays second fiddle, honestly, to most of these people on here. Any of the good performances of it, he might do good on it, but some of these, he just doesn't do good on it. The freaking Hide My Gun with Hardy is probably one of my least favorite songs on it. I don't really like Hardy. I just don't think it's good. Yours is just pretty boring. You really could have just gotten rid of it, and no one would really care. It's just not that good. Missing You Like This with Luke Combs is just kind of mid, honestly. Like, it's not bad or anything, but it's just like there's nothing really. It's kind of forgettable. Never Love You Again with Sierra Farrell is another case of like I don't really care. It feels like it's trying to be more than it really is. It's just not. I mentioned the Have the Heart with Dolly Parton, which I didn't really care that much for. Wrong Ones with Tim McGraw. Guy for That Luke Combs, just that stereotypical country that just annoys people. You just don't care for it. Just generally, I think some of the instrumentation on certain of these songs, the songs I really just named a second ago for like the bad ones, were also very boring instrumentation. Like my two favorite songs was the Billy String song and the Chris Stapleton one, which had amazing instrumentation on it. But you don't really see that on really any song. Even the songs I said I liked didn't really have it anywhere near it, which was just kind of sad that you have to, if you're listening to it in the album sense, you had to wait towards the end of the album to get that. And it's just not really that interesting at that point of it. And I just think it was super heavily focused on like name value rather than full substance on parts of it, which does suck because takes a bit away from it. And yes, it does. It is one of the better albums in like this like crossover between like rap and country, where you had like obviously recently off the top of my head, Young Gravy did his crossover, which was bad. You had Shabuzi, who I actually like. I think he actually did really good. Like, I know everyone is trying to find some way to complain about a bar song. I like it. I don't really listen to it anymore, but I don't think it's bad or anything. I just listen to it a lot. Which he did good because he used to make like drill music, so it's kind of a huge difference. And while not rap, it is in the same line, same field of it as we had a lot of stuff, but Beyonce's actual recent album this year, which went in the country, was good. I liked it. This album is definitely not one of the worst ones. Definitely better than, whatever Jelly Roll makes. Just gonna be honest here of that. And he does actually try a level and give, credence and respect to like country music enough to actually try it. On some of the songs, I don't really think so, but it's just part of that modern country of it at points, which does suck, but I think he generally did try with it, which is more than I can say for some artists on here. And while while it might seem like I just don't like country, considering the two reviews I've done are like crossover artists, I do actually like country. It's not my go-to genre, but there are some amazing country albums, and I do think overall it has just a lot of substance to it that I think is worth listening to, and I think it's grossly over like hated at points of it because of people only listening to would listen like Young Graves album. I know it hasn't been out for that long, but you get my idea. Or like Florida Georgia Line or any of that. So for this, while I do think there was some good, I do think the negatives were pretty major on it. I'm feeling a 5 on this album. I think it overall was pretty decent, but it just had a lot of filler, a lot of mid, and it was so heavy on performances that were just name value. But that's going to be it for me. Bye.